I mean to say it infects us in our most basic integrity. It says we can't be moral without Big Brother, without a totalitarian permission. You're a child made in the image of God. Oh no, you're not. You're a faggot. And you can't join your church and you can't go to heaven. This is disgraceful. It's inhuman.
It's really sad that something so obvious and so very basic has to be specially taught to a group of people because they haven't learned it, or that they've learned something completely false. And because of this learning that they have, people's lives are harmed by it. At the start of this video that I posted the other day, you see two women walking by dressed head to foot in black robes, veils, whatever you want to call it. Completely impossible to identify from looking at them. Probably, I'm guessing their faces are concealed. This is what these men in this video think all women should be. They should hide themselves. They should be ashamed. And this is what they think that this young girl in the video should be like. This free-spirited, independent, strong and courageous young woman who helps her father because apparently he doesn't have any sons. They think she should be like that. She should conform to the edicts or whatever of this book that they've just decided is inspired by a deity for which there's no evidence that it exists whatsoever. But we're going to use this book and try to dictate over half the human race how they should act and dress and behave and be. And sadly, there's a whole lot of people in the world that believe like these young men. And this belief system is poison. This belief system is shackling half the human race, or it wants to. Happily, it doesn't dominate in a lot of countries, but it does dominate in some countries, and it does prohibit and restrict and oppress and shame and humiliate women. It limits them. It teaches them that they're less. It teaches them that they're half the value of men. It teaches them that that men have some kind of say over what they do and how they act and who they are, who they get to be. Men have a say. Men have control over their lives. And they are convinced by this cult, just as much as these young men are convinced that they have some right to have control over women and have some say what women do. The women in this cult are convinced also that they are, this is what they've been raised to think since childhood, these girls. They're raised to think since childhood that they are, as these young men say, inferior in every way, in intellect even, in intelligence even. They're just inferior to men from the get-go. Just that's what they say that these men think about women. Inferior from the get-go. This young woman doesn't buy it. And considering her, where she's been brought up, it's amazing that she still has this sense of self-worth. And I hope she can continue to have it. I hope she doesn't end up stoned to death one day. But I just wanted to play a few clips and comment to these young men, to Muslim men who feel this way. Muslims like to walk around and say, oh, our religion is a religion of peace. We're not like ISIS. We don't condone the murder of innocent people. We don't condone burning people to death in cages or beheading people. We're the peaceful religion. That's what most average Muslims walk around and say. And yet there's this flaw in their religion. I mean, there's a lot of flaws in their religion, but one that I think is the most grievous, the most damaging, because it hamstrings half the human race, is this attitude toward women. And if you look at this video, I've already put up the whole video if you want to watch it. Male Muslim opinions on women. It's a mirror that I put up yesterday. There's at least one little boy hanging out with this crowd of young men, listening to them. So the poison is perpetuated. It's spread to the next generation. This little boy looking at these young men with admiration in his eyes. I want to be like them. I want to be one of the big boys. This is how real men act. This is how real men treat women. Thank you so much for ensuring that our next generation of women are going to likewise be hamstringed and crippled and shackled and limited and inhibited and oppressed and all these things that women have had to deal with for thousands of years, at least since the inception of the original Abrahamic belief system, Judaism. So I'd like to say a few comments to some of the comments that these young men say in this video.
ليش تضحكوا عليه؟
ورد بس يمسك سوقه
خليها ما تنجمين الساعة كذا؟
خليها يعني شربطته
ليش عتربطها؟
You're under the sad impression that you have some control over another human being. You let her. Are you her father? Are you her mother? Are you her brother? Why do you think as her brother you have the authority to do that to your sister? You're not. I know your cult says this, and I know you've been raised since babyhood to believe this, but you are not superior to her, and you do not have authority over her. And you have no right to take another human being and tie them up or dictate to them how they want to express themselves. I mean, this young woman is trying to find her identity. She has one life, and she'd like to live it, and she'd like to be true to herself. And finding your identity is something that every child needs to do. But you would restrict her. You would restrict her ability to figure out who she is. You would restrict her ability to express who she is. She's clearly a very intelligent, articulate young woman, but you would tie her up. Rather than be proud of having an intelligent, strong, independent, capable sister, you would tie her up. You would take away her abilities to express herself, to be herself, to live to her full potential. You would take that away from her and you would tie her up because somehow you think you have the right to do that to another human being. Well, you don't. Newsflash. This is poison that your cult has taught you since infancy. Believe it or not, women and men are the same. We all, as human beings, have different strengths and weaknesses. And males have a tendency to have similar strengths, and females have a tendency to have similar strengths. But there are exceptions to even that. There are strong women, and there are creative men who enjoy cooking and looking after children. The stereotypical roles that we're all kind of stuck with, at least we used to be in my generation, it was kind of more that way. Now it's not so much. Thank goodness we're seeing some progress where women are having more of a say, and men too, of how they want to be in life. You know, it used to be that men were restricted almost as much as women. It wasn't a proper manly job for a man to be home taking care of the children while the wife was at work. That wasn't proper for a man. And a man would be, that would be something that he'd not feel so good about. even though that's something he loved and wanted to do. Society told the man that that's not something a man does, that's something a woman does. You know, these little boxes that society and religion puts us in. Thank goodness we're starting to crawl out of those little boxes. Everybody has different strengths and weaknesses. Yes, men tend to be stronger. But there are strong women, and there are weak men. Yes, women are better at, and I'm throwing this out even though I think it's a huge stereotype, cooking, which is bullshit. It's the best chefs, I am convinced, the best chefs in the world, and this is sexist too, I suppose, but I'm pretty sure they're men. I also know a man that was amazing at crocheting Afghans. He made the most amazingly beautiful Afghans. A man! And why is that a problem? You know, he had an art that he wanted to express, and he did so. You know? You want to say, oh, all women need to be this, black and white thinking, inhibit half the human race, half your own species you want to put in the smallest box imaginable. And if she doesn't like it in there, you're going to tie her up. You don't have the right. Your cult teaches this, I know. This is why your cult is a poison on the earth.
لو معك أخت تخليها تخرج مثل نجمية ليش؟
Here's another guy. I'd shake her hard and hang her up there by an electric cord. And you think you have the right to do that to another human being because you disagree with how she decides to dress and express herself and live her life? What is her life and her desire to fulfill her identity, to find her identity and live her identity and express her identity? What does that have to do with you? Would you like it if somebody did the same thing to you? If somebody just came along and said, you know what, I don't like how you dress. I don't like how you sit on the corner and criticize other people. I'm going to tie you up. I'm going to shake you and tie you up until you conform and be the way we want you to be. Would you like it? Then why do you think why would you want to do that to another human being? You wouldn't like it so much, so why would you want to do it to somebody else? And why do you think you have the right to do that to somebody else? Because a book says? Because of some stupid cult that you've been brainwashed by since you were a baby? Use your brain. Half the human race is not inferior or broken or whatever you say. Deficient. Half the human race is not less than the other. Any belief system that teaches that half the human race is somehow less than the other half and puts them under the other half and gives them rules, strict rules they have to follow, but the other half doesn't have to, is a clearly a man-made invention. Not just a man-made invention, but an invention by some extremely threatened men. Obviously, these men are threatened by strong women. The men who invented your cult, threatened by strong women. They can't even control, they can't deal with women on the same level, so they have to do what they can. They have to say that God decrees that women must be this and this and this. This is a man-made cult created by very sexist men with low self-esteem who are threatened by strong women. It's got the earmarks all over it of a man-made religion. And I'm sorry, just because it says so in a book, that doesn't make it true. And it is wrong to treat any human being like you describe. I'd shake her hard and hang her there by an electric cord. Why? Has she done anything? Has she committed a crime? Oh, it's a sin. Well, I'm sorry. Before you can call it a sin, you have to prove a God exists. Because without a God's existence, there's no such thing as sin. And I'm sorry, but how you dress is not a crime. I'm not seeing any genitalia in this girl's attire. I mean, she's not showing anything that's vulgar. And I'm sorry, the head is not shameful. Nothing is shameful about the human body at all. That's another thing your cult teaches that really is poison. Maybe it's part of why you think you have to treat half the human race the way you do. You need to shake off this book that teaches you these things. What a horrible way to look at another human being. What a disgusting way to look at another human being. You look at a human standing in front of you and you just think that she is yours to shake and tie up because something about her displeases you? Bullshit! You don't have that right. No human being has that right to humiliate and demean and dehumanize somebody else. Why do I even have to say this? Why should anybody have to be taught this? This is self-evident. But you have been so fucking poisoned by this cult that you sit there and you talk to somebody like this and you have this attitude that you can do this to other people in front of a little child who's looking up to you, and he's going to grow up thinking the same bullshit about half the human race, that half is his to dominate, and he's superior to half the human race. Thank you very much for spreading the poison to the next generation. I love this girl. If they were my brothers, I'd break out. She's referring to them and his saying that I would tie her up. I'd shake her and tie her up with electrical tape. Or whatever he said, wire. If they were my brothers, I'd break out. I like her. I hope she can keep her spirit. This is a girl who apparently has no brothers and she helps her father. And so she's learned, he has obviously taught her that she's a valued human being. That's all it takes for women to reach their full potential in life, is to be treated like, oh, you can't do anything. You're not as smart as we are. You're not as good as we are. You're not as strong as we are. Here, let me do that for you because you can't. You can't. You can't. You tell people that from the moment they're born, they grow up feeling like that. This little girl had a dad who obviously did not do that to her, and she managed to tune out all the naysayers in her society that probably has told her since she was very young, oh, you can't do that, you can't do that. Bullshit, she says to herself. Yes, I can. And here she is in a society where women walk around in this black whatever, shameful to even show their heads, and she's like, yes, I can. This little girl is awesome. I'd love her. If they were my brothers, I'd break out. And you know what? I think she would, too. And this wonderful person, if you were my sister, I'd hang you by the feet with your head swinging in the air. I don't want to be redundant. I've already said what I think about people who think they have the right to do that to another human being. No, you don't, asshole. You don't. And your book that seems to give you seem to think you have license. Your book gives you license to do that, justification to do that. To what? To be a bully? Because that's what a bully would do to somebody. That's what a bully would do. You have no right to do that to another human being. And I'm sorry, I know it comes as a surprise to you, but women are human beings too. In fact, I seem to recall reading somewhere that in the womb, we all start out as female in our development. Once upon a time, you were a girl too. Strictly by whatever, the toss of the coin, what genes did what, you turned out to be male. That's it. It's not because you're superior. It's because nature made that decision in the womb, that whatever the I don't know anything about this kind of stuff. But it just came out that way. Genes, genetics, whatever, that you got to be a male. You had no say. You didn't earn that. You're not special just because you have a dick between your legs. You're just the male version of a human being. And she's a female version of a human being. Get this connection here? Human beings. We're all human beings. And our genitalia does not decide our intellect or how capable or incapable we are as human beings. Yes, women can be strong. Yes, men can be creative and perceptive and compassionate and emphatic toward other people. You put people in boxes. You try to put a wall between or separate the species into two sides. Subhuman is what Hitler's Nazis called the Jews. And that's what you do to half the human race, even members of your own family. This is so despicably wrong. And it sickens me that anybody would have to point that out to you. Only American women go out. That's not how it is here in Yemen. Pretty sure that in the UK women go out. I'm pretty sure in all non-Muslim countries women go out. Funny thing, it's only where Islam, the cult, controls a society that women, not men, just women, just half the human race, is so restricted. Interesting coincidence.
ما فيها وبنته خارج. هذا رجال. تفرقوا بين البنت والولد مع أن البنات والبنات مسواسية أمام الله وأمام القانون. تمام أمام.
So the person doing the interview says, but what's bad about going out? Don't you go out too? We're men, says the answer. How come you make a difference between women and men? Even though they're equal before God and the law. This is the person doing the interview. Before God and the law, women are deficient in religion, deficient in inheritance. That's true. Women only get to inherit half as much as men, because the book says. And deficient in intelligence. Well, you know, if you prohibit your girls from going to school and getting an education, it almost guarantees that they're going to know less than you. If any women in your society are deficient in, and I don't want to say intelligence because you can be intelligent without having education, but if you have any women in your society that seem less intelligent because they have not been educated, it's because of your society's design to make women that way. It's a deliberate manipulation to make women more dependent on men. Keep them stupid so they can't go and get a job. So their potential is limited. And then they're going to be more dependent on their daddies and their husbands, aren't they? Less likely to stray from the possessive, domineering man because they need that man to survive, because they can't possibly live on their own because they have not been educated. Your society makes women less educated. Your society makes them more dependent on men because that's what you have to do to keep your control on them. Your possessiveness on them. They are your property and that's how you want to keep it. So gee, let's not let our girls get educated. No, it's not how it is in the rest of the world. It's only the Islam countries where women are treated like this. I feel sorry for all the little girls that are born being told that they are deficient in religion, deficient in inheritance, and deficient in intelligence. You might as well put shackles on your little daughter. And you know what you do? That's what you do. Women and men are the same. That's the person doing the interview. No, a woman is a woman. Women are a disgrace. Something else you can tell your little daughter when she's looking up at you, looking for guidance and wisdom. Women, you're a disgrace. Women are a disgrace. If a man makes a mistake, it's his mistake. I see. So if a woman makes a mistake, it's not her mistake. Why do you think that? Of course it's her mistake. Her mistake is something that she is responsible for, just as much as a man is responsible for his mistake. But if a woman makes a mistake, it's the whole family's reputation that's affected. You know, you sound like somebody who, you look at women like somebody here in America might look at their front lawn. You know, if the whole front lawn is brown, it's the family's reputation that's affected. So we got to water the grass. Keep it nice and green. Otherwise, the whole family's reputation is affected. Can't have the neighbors looking at our front yard and saying, oh, look at that horrible brown grass. You're basically you're treating your women like they're an ornament that you have to maintain. You've got to keep it green. Yeah. Can't have any blemishes on that front lawn. Can't have any dandelions growing there. It's shameful. It's an embarrassment. Better pull the weeds. Make it nice and perfect. All uniform blades, all standing up nice and straight, perfectly clipped, nice and green. Impress the hell out of the neighbors with their nice green front lawn. That's how you treat your women. That's what you want from your women. That's what your women are. They're not human beings in their own right. It's just, I'm sorry, this is the most disgusting mentality. And it's all created by this cult Islam, that these people walk around and say, oh, it's a religion of peace. It's a nice religion. No, it is not a nice religion. It is a falsehood, and it's a lie, and it's a poison that shackles half the human race, or it wants to. Women in general are flawed from start to finish. What she does is shameful. I'll give you an example. When a woman makes bread and doesn't do a good job of it, what do people say? Question. Does it matter? This is again the comparing the woman to your front lawn. When the lawn is brown and dried up, what do people say? Oh my goodness, what are the neighbors going to think if our lawn is brown and dried up? So we have to keep it pristine. If a woman can't bake bread, what do people say? Who the fuck gives a rat's ass what other people say or what other people think? Here's a thought. Why don't you say to the woman who can't make bread very well, hey, good way to go for trying. It was a good effort. You know, keep working at it. Maybe you'll get better over time. What the fuck does it matter if she can't make bread well? That doesn't make her an inferior person. It means she might not be a good cook. Guess what? Not all women are cooks or meant to be cooks or are good at it. Just like all men are not all good at fixing cars. That's another sexist stereotype that, oh, you're a man, you must know how to fix my car. No, not all men know how to fix cars, and not all women know how to cook bread. And who cares what other people think? Gotta put them in that little box though, right? His comment, they say, poor thing, she doesn't know how to make bread. Yeah, maybe they do, and who cares if they do? Why is that a problem? You know, if they're so concerned about somebody else not being able to make bread, I'm thinking they have pretty small little lives. You know, maybe this woman can't make bread, but maybe she can fix cars like you wouldn't believe if she had been given the education and the opportunity to learn about cars. Maybe this woman who can't make bread would be an amazing mechanic. But you'll never know that, will you? Because you put her in this little box and restricted her and told her since she was a little baby, you can't, but here, make some bread. I have to ask again, why do you give a rat's ass what your neighbor thinks? This is your sister. She just tried to make you bread. Probably, maybe trying to, you know, fit into the stereotypical role that her society says she has to be in. Trying hard to be a proper woman. Not being very good at it because that's not exactly the box that she's supposed to be in, because she's more than just a bread maker. She's supposed to be an engineer or a CEO of a company. There's so many things. Maybe she's supposed to be a doctor. But here she's trying to fit into this little box your society tries to put women in. She's trying to conform. And you're going to be ashamed of her? Why don't you pat her on the head and say, hey, good job, way to go for trying. Instead of, ooh, what are the neighbors going to think? She doesn't make bread very well. What are the neighbors going to think? Oh, this is a cult that I would want to be a part of. If this is how people are raised to think, oh, we got to worry about what the neighbors think. We got to worry about what other people think. We don't want to be embarrassed if our lawn is brown. Let's inhibit our sister. Let's restrict our sister. Let's make our sister wear a fucking black bag over her entire body with a slit for her eyes. Because we've trained her to think since she was a baby that she is a shameful, deficient, inferior thing that should hide away from the world, her face and her identity. That's a disgrace. It's a disgrace. Is it a disgrace because some fucking neighbor thinks that your sister can't make bread? A disgrace for your whole family? I'd say that you have some serious issues if you think that your sister trying to be a good woman is a disgrace. Not everybody can knit. Not everybody can fix cars. Not everybody can tightrope walk. Is this a disgrace? Is it a disgrace if a man can't walk on a tightrope? Should the whole family be embarrassed because this man can't walk on a tightrope? Why is it that a woman not being able to do something is a disgrace, but a man not being able to do something, that's okay? And I'm sorry, Islam is a good religion again. Why? This is just despicable and gross and sickening. This cult is beyond repulsive. And what really gets me is women who embrace it, but then I have to tell myself, they have been poisoned since birth. They've been raised to think this way since birth. She has to be accompanied by a man whenever she goes out. Well, that's because your cult says so. That's because a book says so. She doesn't have to be. She's perfectly capable of going out by herself and getting around the city. She's perfectly capable of making decisions and performing tasks and getting things done. As she doesn't need a man by her side. Your cult puts that limitation on her and teaches her since she's a little girl that she can't. She can't. You can't do that without a man. Actually, she can. And it's your bullshit cult teaching both women and men that she can't. That's the problem. I like her response. Well, I go out. I don't have any brothers. I help my father at his butcher shop. There is no shame in that, and there is no shame in that. And she knows it. She's self-aware of her abilities. She's confident and strong and independent. And she's totally dressed in... This is how she expresses herself and how she dresses. And I just... She's not letting this cult inhibit her. And I just feel so much admiration for this little girl. I just hope that 10 years from now she's not dead or wearing the veil. I love it. Who cares? Film it. Wear your veil. You're a big girl. Conform. Fit into the little box that we want you to be in. Bullshit. Be strong. This girl knows her mind. I hope she doesn't lose touch with that. You're past the age where you can get away with it. Says these boys, like they have some kind of authority over her. It's just, no, your cult says these things and puts these restrictions on women and these rules on women. I don't see these men wearing veils. I don't see these men dressed even as Islamic men are traditionally dressing. I mean, men wear traditional clothing too. I don't see these guys. These guys look like some guys from America sitting on a street corner, and they're not dressed like my stereotypical idea of how male men, Islamic men or Muslim men dress. Why aren't they dressed properly? Here they are criticizing her. I think they're past the age where they can get away with dressing this way. Then they ask her if she's had her period yet. Excuse me? Why would... Now suddenly she's breeding stock. Because something like that is none of their business. She has no need to tell them something so personal about herself. Why would they even ask such a question? It's none of their business. She is not their property. I just can't believe that he would even ask her that question. More of wear your veil. She should wear the Islamic veil. And she says, I am free. I am not your sister, your cousin. Why should she wear the veil? Now they're saying it's a sin. Shameful. The head is sinful. Again, you need to prove a God exists before you can say that such a thing as sin exists. And why is the head sinful exactly? Or shameful? Teaching little children that they should be ashamed of themselves. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say about this video. I admire this girl. These men are disgusting. I wanted to make a video addressing the mentality. Muslim men who feel this way about women are the problem. They are the result. They are the byproduct of ingesting poison. This is what the poison of this religion creates. People with this mentality. And it's wrong. It's evil. It's vile. It's wrong to treat another human being this way, showing no respect at all for her personal, I mean, asking her if she's had her period yet, that is so wrong. But just treating, the attitude in general toward women is so wrong. Half the human race, and this is a cult that wants to take over the world and put this shari'a law on the whole world, on all women. So then really it would be half the human race. Any cult that does that, that separates the sexes and says one is less and gives them rules that the other doesn't have to follow. This is a man-made corruption. Some very sexist men put this together for their own convenience, to make it easier for them to dominate women. Well, look here, our prophet, who is getting this directly from God, says that according to God, you women have to do. God's willing it. This is God's will that you do this, women. No, it's the will of very sexist men who apparently need this. They are threatened by women. They're cowards. They cannot stand a woman standing next to them as their equal. They're cowards. They're so insecure in their own masculinity that they have to put the women down to make themselves feel stronger. Real men don't have to do that. And these are not real men. They're the ones that are subhuman. Anyway, I just wanted to make some comments about this video. It really made me angry, and just putting it up was not enough. If you've been watching, thanks. Bye!